What if a powerful secret organization influences billions of dollars in foreign aid, shapes the U.S. stance on global conflicts, influences media narratives, sways congressional votes, and quietly decides the fate of key political careers, all without most Americans even noticing? This isn't just a theory. This is AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, arguably one of the most powerful lobbying groups in Washington. Let's take a closer look at the U.S.'s relationship with Israel.
Clear. We stand with Israel.
The unshakable bond between the United States of America and Israel.
I recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel.
Because America's commitment to Israel's security is unshakable.
American presidents and the American people in the future will support all out the survival of Israel.
It is a relationship that has consistently been deeply connected. Now there are lots of layers to the U.S.-Israel relationship, and it's tied up in at least 75 years of pretty complicated history. A key element often highlighted by both the U.S. and Israel is the idea of shared values. Why does the U.S. seem so committed to safeguarding all of Israel's interests, even at a significant cost to itself or its relationships with other nations? In this episode, we will investigate how AIPAC shapes America's destiny from the shadow. You are watching 10-Minute Quest. AIPAC was founded in 1963 to advocate for pro-Israel policies within the United States Congress through direct lobbying, political contributions, and strategic pressure. As a nonprofit organization, it maintains strong relationships with both Republican and Democratic leaders, facilitating Israel's access to military aid, diplomatic backing, and economic collaboration. It is important to recognize that AIPAC's formal structure only partially reflects its significant power and influence. The organization plays a pivotal role in steering U.S. foreign policy towards a pro-Israel stance, shaping public discourse, influencing elections, and driving American foreign policy in alignment with its pro-Israel agenda. AIPAC is one of the most influential political organizations in America due to its lobbying efforts, campaign contributions, endorsements, and support for Israel. This organization holds high-profile conferences attended by top politicians, demonstrating their unwavering support for Israel through their participation. It is important to note that AIPAC's influence extends far beyond lobbying in Washington. It also plays a significant role in shaping the media narrative surrounding U.S.-Israel relations, presenting them as a cornerstone of U.S. foreign policy. AIPAC's influence is evident in voting patterns within Congress, as lawmakers are keenly aware that taking a stance against Israel can lead to significant political repercussions, including challenges from AIPAC-backed candidates. It has access to a vast network of donors capable of funding electoral challengers, which makes it difficult for politicians who oppose AIPAC's agenda to retain their seats. Furthermore, AIPAC's ability to mobilize grassroots support and influence public opinion adds an additional layer of pressure on elected officials to align with its pro-Israel stance, reinforcing its dominant role in shaping U.S. foreign policy. AIPAC has significantly impacted U.S. politics through its financial contributions, political action committees, PACs, and support for super PACs that back candidates who align with Israel's interests. These organizations raise millions of dollars each year. This financial influence often pressures lawmakers to follow its agenda, even when it contradicts the views or interests of their constituents. A clear example is the annual vote on foreign aid to Israel, often framed as an investment in global security, despite increasing skepticism among the American public about the amount of military aid provided. AIPAC's influence is evident in the numbers. with donations related to the organization exceeding $100 million in the 2020 election cycle alone. Importantly, this issue goes beyond exercising First Amendment rights. It's a systemic effort to shape U.S. foreign policy in favor of a foreign nation, using American money to push an agenda that often doesn't reflect the will of the people. AIPAC has had a profound impact on the development of U.S. foreign policy over the last few decades. This includes pulling out of the Iran nuclear deal in 2018 and the controversial decision to relocate the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem in 2017. This organization played a significant role in pressuring Congress and the Trump administration to withdraw the agreement. This was despite its potential to avert nuclear proliferation. One of the factors that led to this outcome was the organization's support for Israel's sovereignty over Jerusalem. This was one of the preludes. AIPAC is regarded as the most influential organization in the U.S. for political pressure. It has been widely criticized for influencing foreign policy. Overpowering has been called a behavior detrimental to American interests and basic human rights. As a result, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is also restricted from discussion in this process. There have been allegations made against some critics that they are responsible for the backlash they received. Supporters argue this is critical for Israel's security, while opponents say it is merely a way to reduce criticism of the country. The influence of this organization on American democracy raises profound questions regarding the role of money in politics and the representation of average citizens in Washington as a result of its activities. The American Civil Liberties Union, as well as groups like J Street, have argued that AIPAC's influence on U.S. policy moves the country in a direction that doesn't represent many Americans, especially those concerned about Palestinian rights. Trump's relationship with Israel has dramatically shifted from his time as president to his current status as one of Israel's closest allies, fully adopting the most radical rightist policies of the country as a whole. Jerusalem was recognized as Israel's capital in December 2017 by U.S. President Donald Trump. This was widely celebrated by AIPAC and other pro-Israel groups. AIPAC works for a balanced approach to U.S.-Israel relations. However, Trump's administration has supported policies more in line with the right-wing government in Israel, such as the relocation of the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem and the withdrawal from the Iran nuclear deal. Because of this, there has been no room for compromise, especially when it comes to contentious issues such as the conflict between Israel and Palestine. Under Trump's leadership, AIPAC had to adapt its strategy to cultivate relationships with both Democrats and Republicans. Trump's polarized political environment made it very difficult to achieve this. AIPAC supporters became more and more identified with the Republican Party as time went on, and their relationship with the GOP became closer and closer as well. It was under Trump that AIPAC's long-lobbied policies, such as recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital and increasing military aid to Israel, were enacted. AIPAC also struggled to maintain bipartisan support for Israel, as Trump's leadership created a climate of increasingly divisive rhetoric toward the Jewish state. The challenge for this agency is to manage the growing rift between the U.S. and Israel, at the same time as maintaining the mission of a strong U.S.-Israel relationship. Donald Trump's Middle East policy, in which the administration supports Israeli settlements in the West Bank and takes a hardline approach towards Iran, alienates many Americans, especially progressive groups and younger generations. The American Israel Public Affairs Committee, AIPAC, has been accused by some to be complicit in Trump's divisive Middle East policies, since it is a conservative organization demonstrating unchecked influence over U.S. foreign policy. AIPAC's support for Trump's move on the embassy and the Iran deal, however, has been criticized by critics as demonstrating a preference for the interests of the right-wing Israeli government over the concerns of the American public. AIPAC has been criticized by representatives like Ilhan Omar and Senator Bernie Sanders for moving too much toward the far right in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and jeopardizing efforts to find a middle way outcome. Trump promised to continue his staunch support for Israel by expanding on key policies from his previous term. He has vowed to continue unconditional military and diplomatic support for Israel, particularly regarding its actions in Gaza and the West Bank. He will also ensure no international conditions are placed on U.S. military aid. Trump has also promised to push the so-called Abraham Accords by seeking more normalization agreements between Israel and Arab states, notably Saudi Arabia, which he sees as a pathway towards stability and security for Israel. He has also underscored that he would stand firm against Israel, with a maximum pressure posture, which could see the reimposition of sanctions, blocking Iran's regional influence, which he says will redound to Israel's direct security. Trump has also rejected international pressure on illegal settlements in the occupied Palestinian territories. He promised to block any demand to freeze settlement construction in the West Bank. He would support Israel's annexation of further Palestinian territories. U.S. foreign policy has undergone a major change due to the rise of progressive politicians in the U.S., especially those from the younger generation. A shift in this type of situation, especially in Israel, could have a significant impact on the future development of U.S.-Israeli relations in the future. Despite AIPAC's stranglehold on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, it is possible that it is losing its grip as more and more voices advocate a more balanced approach to the conflict. The fact is that AIPAC's invisible hand has shaped American politics, and it is obvious that this influence will not diminish soon. AIPAC greatly influences American politics and global events. Israel and Palestine are complex issues facing the world's most powerful democracy. The organization plays an important role in this debate. President Trump changed U.S.-Israel relations and gave AIPAC a powerful ally. AIPAC was caught in the crossfire, exacerbating the U.S. political divide. It will continue to influence America's policy, but AIPAC's lessons will not be forgotten. The question remains whether it can adapt to a more polarized and complex political environment. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more analysis of U.S. politics